Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of a special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose. Because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and the generations to come. So friends, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest today. And she is no stranger to the Good Morning Minute and also was a presenter at the Empower Her Steps conference. That's Linda Lemos. Hey, my friend, how are you today?
Good. First of all, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, on your show. And also, congratulations to you. You published two books. I
I
knew it was
did.
about you, but it is about you. Like, those are some great books. It's on my Amazon list. I'm about to order it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I did. So thank you for recognizing that. So my friend, why don't you just take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hey, everyone. So, my name is Linda Love Lemos. I have a career span of 28 years. No, I'm not that old. It's just I started really young. But besides that, I am a podcast producer. I'm an anchor. I'm a book author. I'm a speaker. And I'm a business consultant. And I'm here on Angelina's show.
Yeah, you are. And you do so much more than just what you've listed. I know that. And so I love following you. I love seeing you do all the things. I know that you just did a summit not too long ago. So that's awesome. All right, my friend. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started, but I am doing a little icebreaker question before we jump into the heart of our conversation. And so my question to you is, if today had a theme song, what would it be?
Ooh, ooh, I'm trying to think of theme songs. I'm trying to think of songs. Oh, probably anything. There's a producer, music producer. He's Belgian. He's from Belgium. His name is Apache. So probably any song by Apache. That would be
Okay.
it.
Okay. Well, not familiar with that artist, but hey, I trust you. It's probably a good vibe anyways. I know you. Positive vibes
Yeah.
for sure. All right. Well, Linda, let's go ahead and jump into the heart of our conversation. And I'm going to ask you, what was a defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
Oh, most definitely. I think throughout life, many of us have gone through lots of life and trauma. But I think the most recent for me was definitely being diagnosed with sarcoidosis in about July or so of 2021. That really did completely make me do a U-turn and change my life and change the direction of my career and my purpose as well. Being diagnosed with a rare medical condition that is an inflammatory medical condition that affects all organs and all systems. So it's not easy. And many times when people ask you a medical condition, they ask you what you suffer from. And I
Mhm.
took that word away from my vocabulary and I say that I'm living with sarcoidosis. And it's just about trying to manage it. I think you end up learning how to appreciate life more every day.
Ooh, I like that. And it's hitting me very profoundly. The fact that you're changing the vocabulary that you're speaking into your life. That's a very powerful. And that's not something that I don't think we've discussed just yet with the people that have interviewed is what you're speaking into your life. So if looking from a biblical perspective, words have power, my friends. So speaking and being intentional about the words that you use in your daily speak, in the conversations you have, are vital because it lays a foundation. You're laying a brick in the road to where you want to go. And so I like that you're saying I don't suffer from anything. I live with this, and it's a management process. So let's talk a little bit about that diagnosis and what it was like when you received that information. And immediately, what did you tell yourself in your mind once you received that information to help you kind of grow in the season?
Great question. First and foremost, when I first was diagnosed and they had to do a biopsy in my lung because I couldn't breathe, I really thought that it was just something kind of like asthma, just, quick fix, maybe a pill, maybe an asthma inhaler, and I would be fine. That was my ignorance back then because I didn't understand what it was, and not so many people had heard of sarcoidosis. And even the doctors didn't know what to do with it either because it was just a medical terminology. They don't treat too many patients with it. So first and foremost, I want to thank the Sarcoidosis Research Foundation that I work with now as a patient navigator and advocate with them. They have all the answers there. They have all the medications, list of medications. So I had to educate myself because within a month of that diagnosis, I wasn't able to walk. I had nerve issues. I couldn't hold a grip. My grip would automatically fall. I had extreme breathing difficulties. I couldn't walk around Walmart. Like trying to run an errand was extremely exhausting for me. And I had a lot of joint pain.
Mm,
So it was not easy. It's not easy. It's better now. It's a disease that every day you have no idea what complications you might have. I always call it the cousin or the sister of lupus because it has some similarities with regards to the symptoms. Um, both sarcoidosis, lupus, and cancer, we share the same medication.
mm,
So some of the medications can be very strong as well. But I educated myself. The more you educate yourself about whatever disease you have, the better you are, and the better you can be an advocate for yourself with
mhm,
regards to health decisions. And being an educated patient uh, does help when it comes to selecting your doctors and talking to your doctors.
mm. I like that. And so let's talk a little bit about the mind in practice, because I feel like you have to, because even talking about words, like that starts here in what you're thinking and what you're going to
Right.
put out. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that with a diagnosis that is so significant, there may not be a healing process in it, but you talk about managing the symptoms, you talk about managing and living with this disease. So let's talk a little bit about the mind, because you definitely had to put something into practice to help you in just kind of adjusting your way of living. So what was that?
Well, at first, I really was like researching so heavily. Well, as you well know, my background is research, it's legal
Hmm.
research. So I switched all my skills into medical research. And at first, I was like, I'm going to find a cure for it. There's got to be a cure. This is ridiculous that there's no cure for it. And then several years have passed by since 2021. And then I realized, okay, there's really no cure for it as of yet. So what do I do? First and foremost, I think the best thing you can do is not be angry. I think a lot of people sometimes have
Hmm.
anger issues when they are diagnosed with any type of medical condition like lupus, like cancer, like sarcoidosis. Second of all, a lot of people end up blaming God. So I think those two factors in your mind have to be removed because they're not positive statements to have. They're negative statements.
Hmm.
Third, stress is a contributing factor to sarcoidosis. So I can't stress myself out. Basically, I've learned not that I can't control a lot of things, to not be as controlling. Um, what else? It's also a holistic point of view, a holistic upkeep that I have to have. So I go to a wellness spa. I use a salt room. I use a biomat. I get massage therapy. I've gotten acupuncture and believe it or not, all those things that I've done have helped me, my numbers, my
Mm,
my blood numbers and um, um my inflammation numbers go down. So those things do help. It's not just the medicine, but it's also the holistic approach to it. And um, also how do you turn something so negative and turn it into something positive? And for me, it's been able to be a mentor, not just for Berkeley College and for uh, George Washington George Washington University, but also for the Sarcoidosis Research Foundation and helping new patients navigate through sarcoid. And
mm,
you know that brings me joy, and it's great for them because they have someone to talk to that understands them completely and understands the symptoms and what they're going through.
mm. That's so true. That is so true. And it's not an unusual story where people go through a situation and instead of letting it overcome them or they just kind of melt into it and just kind of stay in that muck, they actually pull themselves out. And you're one of those people that have decided, you know what, this isn't going to define who I am in the world today. So I'm gonna inspire, I'm gonna continue to mentor, I'm gonna continue to utilize this platform to help others understand that, there's still life after a diagnosis of such. So I love that about you, Linda. You're like this beacon of light that's just in dark places. And so I love that about you. Um,
Hmm.
so, what kind of advice would you give to someone that maybe has received that message of this is something that's happened to you, um, and your life is forever changed, and so they're looking at it from that yucky perspective of, oh my gosh, I'm doomed or whatever. What kind of advice would you give that person?
Well, first and foremost, with my diagnosis, there are famous people who have passed away from it, and
Mhm,
they passed away young. Well, 60, 65. We had Bernie Mac, the comedian, who after his death, his family
yeah.
started the Sarcoidosis Foundation. We also had Michael Duncan Clark, the actor from Green Mile, who also passed away. Um, it's like you never pass away from sarcoidosis. You pass away from an infection or from a complication
Mhm,
because it affects your immune system. And if you're in that yucky place, think about it. I've been in that place too, where you're not so positive, where you might be a little bit negative. And I thought about it, and I thought about, okay, well, I have 5 years, or I have 10 years. You know, how do you want to live your life? What's the next 10 years look like for you? And it's not about stopping to live. It's actually about continuing to live, but in a modified
mhm,
form, in a modified way. I still travel. I can't walk to my gate, but I ask for a little ride, a little wheelchair, a little ride to the gate. So that helps me. I pace myself. I probably can't have an extensive schedule. I can still work. I can work from home, which is wonderful. I can podcast from home. I can write a book from home, right? So there's still life. I can still see my friends. It's just we can't really go hiking because I need to rest.
mhm.
No 3 to 5 mile or 10 mile hike with me. You can do it, and I'll let when you come back. Let me know. Those things I can't. There's things I can't do, but you embrace the things that you can do. I can't really walk a whole mall, but I can walk a few sections and find a place to sit. So places that have seating are excellent for me. I also decided that I wanted to work, but in a modified way. So I'm working with CEOs, but I can do it from home, which is fabulous.
Mhm,
I don't have to deal with office politics. It's basically me and the CEO, so it works
mhm,
wonderfully for me.
mhm,
What else I've modified? I also chose school. I chose to finish my academic career, and if it was the last thing I was going to do, I was going to finish it. I'm enrolled this fall at Northeastern University, pursuing my doctorate degree in education. And it's like, okay, well, if I have 5 or 10 years, what do you want to do? And I think that that's a great thing. If you want to go to Paris, which I have, I've been to Paris. go ahead, even if it's just a weekend, just go and do it and just continue to live. Even if it's modified, bring all your asthma inhalers and everything, all your medications with you. So you continue to live. And that's what's really about. Don't ever feel like you're stuck. You're never stuck in anything. It may
Mm,
seem that way, but you're never stuck in anything, you know? And it's always about your self improvement, your self motivation too. And what do you want to leave behind? I think with Sarcoid, it's kind of jumped my schedule with regards to legacy. You know, legacy is something we all think about when we're in our 60s.
mhm,
I'm in my 40s and I have to start thinking about that now. What do I leave behind? And I think that's why I'm working so hard with my newsletter that's coming out, premiering September 30th on LinkedIn and Substack, and, uh, and helping other people. And I have a whole team that helps me uh,
mhm,
do Linda Love talks and do my speaking engagements and do the newsletter. And I'm working on my third book, and I think my third book is definitely a personal book. It's a career journey, and it's definitely a book that I feel opens doors. There's so many people that live in inner cities that grow up with working class parents, and they never hear their story being told. You know, you see
mhm,
other, you see a lot of people on in the news that are from affluent grandparents or affluent parents, and they have a fabulous career. Well, it was easy for them. They had all the connections. I think
mhm,
I like the stories that you never hear about, which is one of mine. Mine's a story that you never hear about. And you never hear the story of the people that live on the other side of the track. But that's
mhm,
the majority of Americans. It's not just 3% of us, right? So I think uh, that's the trajectory. That's the whole inspiration behind my third upcoming book that I'm writing. And it's something that I leave behind for my niece, my nephews, and for the mentees that are in their 20s. You know, it's something, sometimes you want to tell them more about your journey or about that very difficult boss. But you don't have all the time in the world to talk to them about all the details and everything that happened. So I think that's what I love about the book and why it's going to help so many of my mentees and a lot of the young college graduates and all those adults that are thinking are too scared to move on with their careers or they've just been laid off. We've had so many people being laid off and they don't
mhm.
know what else to do and how to pivot. And you can always pivot. There's always something else to do.
Mm, I love that. And I think that's why I love you, Linda, because you are this just beacon of hope. Like you have so much more hardships and stories that we're not
Mhm.
even talking about today.
No, that's why the book is there for. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you read my first couple of chapters, you would be like, oh my God.
No, and I remember even going back to our first conversation and the challenge you had in just graduating and getting into college and those things too. So I love that you're talking about legacy because that's the intent, right? Is to leave that hope in the world so that somebody else can pick it up and carry it even further and be like, you know what? I read Linda's book. It inspired me to talk about my story. It inspired me to help others. Like that's what it's all about. And I like that. And I think this is where you and I align because I started my podcast and I started my nonprofit because I wanted to be the average Joe, quote unquote, talking about her story and defining success for myself. I'm not the big name, I'm not the famous person, but I want to look at someone who is in the midst of their struggle and say, look, if I can do it, you can do it. I know that you can, and I'm going to walk with you in that, and I'm going to hold you up and help you and show you how to do it. That's important because I think when we sit amongst the stars and we're looking and we're hearing their story, they are so far from that story into their success
Yeah.
that I would probably, if I was starting back where I started a couple of years ago, I would be like, wow, that's great,
And
but where
you
do
know
I
what?
start?
I will drop names because I do like them, and
Yeah.
there's nothing like the Kim Kardashians, the Paris Hiltons, right? And there's nothing wrong with their careers and their lives and how they led them and so on and so forth. But that's not the average person. And I think when you can connect a lot more and better, and I think it's the same thing that what you're saying, when you hear someone who hey, they're from working class family. Hey, they had struggles. Hey, they had to work 3 jobs to get themselves through college. A lot of times we hear so many people that mislead people by
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, you don't need college. You don't need this." That's great if your grandfather is the owner of like hotel chain, and you're invited to all the parties and you have
Yeah.
all the connections in the world. Yeah, maybe it's gonna really work out for you, but it wouldn't work out for a girl who's 13 and a half working at a grocery store. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
gonna work out for her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's the truth. It really is. So I want to give those stories. I want to give those stories and those people a voice to share that, to say, you know what, I grew up in poverty. I grew up with migrant family, parents. I grew up not knowing how to speak English. I think I'm kind of leading into a little of your story, but
Yeah.
uh, and then even my story, whatever. But I think being able to give those people a voice and say, no, you can still turn it around, you really can,
Mhm.
um and pacing it out for them, and making it like a realistic goal, because it didn't happen overnight. I didn't wake up and just go, you know what, my life is going to be 10 times better than where I am today, and boom, here it is. No, it takes focus, it takes, work. I mean, what kind of practices did you have to put in place, Linda, for yourself?
A lot. I was really like when I first. I'm trying not to give away my third book, but
I know.
it's hard, right? But I'm halfway there. I'm halfway there in the book. You know, I didn't have the best influences.
Mhm.
I had good parents who were good working class parents. They lived to work, they worked to live, because when you are in that salary range, that's
Mhm.
basically your life.
Mhm.
But then during my teenage years, it was very scary. I didn't realize it because um, I had very negative influences around me that were not doing the best things, that were doing things they could get arrested for, and so on and so forth. So for me, the breakout situation happened um, when I dropped out of high school. I'm a high school dropout. I'm a proud high school dropout. I dropped out of high school, and I didn't like the I would call it the office politics of high school. But yes, high school has its politics, and they have its administration. Sometimes you have a good administration, sometimes you have a bad one. That administration focused more on the rich kids and on the affluent kids, not on the working class kids. I think we were marginalized, and I think the working class kids were picked on by the administration and by the other students as well. And I couldn't take it anymore, so I dropped out. And while about 5 minutes into me dropping out, I felt shamed that I couldn't graduate from high school. But I walked down the hallway, and there's a night school enrollment in a night school office, so I enrolled myself in night school. And my grades, as soon as I started night school, they improved 100%. I became an A student at night. Who would have figured? But night school it was great. They treated you like an adult. You came in, you did the work, and you left. And then I was working full time at the age of 17, and that helped. I think working for me was a great thing. It kept me out of trouble. I think if I hadn't been working as much as full time at 17, I would have been in more trouble, and more in trouble with the law. But at that moment, I didn't, when you're surrounded by, ooh, thirsty, when you're surrounded by negative influences and you just think that's the way life is, you normalize it too. You don't know what's on the other side. And I didn't learn until what it was on the other side until I enrolled in Berkeley College, and I enrolled for the paralegal program. It was 18 months. I didn't really want to, but my high school counselor my night school career counselor, she kind of forced me. She's like, no, but you're smart. And I was like, I think I needed someone to tell me that I was smart.
Mhm.
College for me was a foreign thing. I didn't understand it. I didn't even know how I was going to pay for it. I was the first one in my family to join college and graduate. I I liked that it was only 18 months because I didn't like school. Like I hated school, but I liked the idea of, oh my God, I can finish this program. It's only 18 months and I can work with attorneys and I can work in legal. And it was sitting in those classrooms with kids from Patterson, New Jersey, and from a couple of other places like Wayne, Clifton, Passaic, that I actually learned the law. And I was like, oh, you can't do this. You can't grab someone. You can't hit someone.
Mhm.
Which sounds like how do you not know that? Well, I grew up in a neighborhood that was tough and rough and very similar to the Bronx. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's, you have to defend yourself many times. I never started a fight, but I always ended them.
There you go. I can definitely relate. I can definitely relate.
you know,
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful. Your story is beautiful, and I don't want you to jump in too much into your book and give too much away. But I hope that people that are listening are enticed to learn because it's true when we grow up in situations that are hard and rough and tough and it's just like toxic and negative and you don't hear anything and then you're hearing from like the people that are supposed to be leading your school career and stuff that yeah, you're not worth the time, you're not worth the
Mhm.
energy. Like, and they may not speak it out loud, but it's definitely an attitude and it's definitely when they're engaging with you, the undertone of the message that makes people want to just say, you know what, you don't care about me, I'm not going to care about you. And then it just creates that whole domino effect of going into this one path where you chose to do different. And I find it's funny that you're like, I didn't like school and now you're like going into your doctorate's program right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can put that as a headline, from high school dropout to now becoming a doctorate of education. Jesus. Yeah, I had a really bad high school teacher that, oh, she was just horrible. She was like, oh, I failed you. She waited for the hallway to be empty. She came up to me and was like, I failed you in history, and now you're not going to graduate from high school. And now what are you gonna do? Are you gonna work at Macy's for the rest of your life? Like she was very much like
Yeah.
this is what not to say to your student and how to put someone down. But it's funny, she's not alive anymore. But interesting, I told her, no, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go to school and then I'm going to come back and make twice as much money as you do. And it's like fast forward, I've made three times her salary, which is
Hmm.
amazing.
Hmm.
Um, and she only had a bachelor's degree, so whatever.
No,
Oh
it's
my
it's
God.
so fun. No, but it's funny and in the sense that we turned that and I guess coming from the environments that we come from, the rough and tough, we have to take that motivation the way we get it. And it can stem from anger. It definitely, because I know for a long time, anger was my motivation to show them. I want to show them that whatever they thought or whatever they think, it's not going to happen. It wasn't until later in life when I decided, okay, I need to let go of this anger because it is affecting how I interact and engage with people, and it's not so nice. And so,
Yeah.
um, I need to be more approachable. I need to just soften up. And so now I find myself so soft that I'm catching crazy looking spiders. This is a true story today. Catching spiders and releasing them back into the wild. So, I don't know.
I leave them because there's always how you go in and out from your porch or your balcony, and there's
Yes.
always like a fly. I'm like, maybe I should leave one or two because they'll catch the fly, and the flies are the most annoying ones. But yeah,
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Let's not be so hard.
No, it isn't. It's so yeah, I was like, wow, I've really surrendered a lot and have changed my whole outlook. Scared out of my mind trying to catch this spider that I say is probably as big as a cat. I'm exaggerating, but um, just releasing it into the wild is just like something I would have never done in my younger years because I'd have been like, let's squish it, let's get rid of it, all those things. And I
Oh,
didn't.
some spiders are too big to squish. I don't know where
Mm.
you're down south. You got bigger insects on there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I use that as a lighthearted, just kind of metaphor in life because that's how I was, in
Yeah.
relationships. It was like, you know what? I remember saying this, like, I don't have to like you to work with you, things like that. And I mean, I can just imagine being on the receiving side of that message and going, dang, she's like, okay, she's not approachable. She's not someone that you want to.
Oh, and we have to change that though.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of people, and I've noticed that even with my friends who are people of color, right? Okay.
Hmm.
That are like that, and sometimes you are in an environment that has something to do with you. Sometimes you're in a. I've been in different environments that
Hmm.
are all Asian, or all white, or all black, or all whatever it is, and
Hmm.
you still have to. You can't be that hard at work. It's gonna even create more conflict. You got to soften up
Yes.
a little bit. And not only that, when you leave a company, because we all will leave a company, whether it's
Hmm.
a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you want to leave with references. You still want to
Hmm.
have some allies at work, some friends at work, some allies. You want to leave with references. Not only that, it's like careers evolve. And, a lot of my coworkers that were once my coworkers, thank God, they are now CEOs. And guess who they hire? They hire me
Hmm.
as a
Hmm.
consultant because they already know we can work together and that I can help them with regards to business. So I think that's important. Is try to be cool, try to be nice to everyone because you never know where life leads them and where life leads you and where you meet them and see them again. So I think
Yeah.
that's the positive.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. But it also it goes back into that mindset and that inner work as far as who do I want to be in the world? You talked about legacy being, being able to leave a legacy. I want to leave an impact of how I made people feel. Like I want people to remember or know me and go, oh my gosh, she's such a great person and she's done this and that for others and has done this for me and has inspired. Like I want to leave an impact that will last long beyond, my years here on earth for sure. So it's important to do the inner work, change the mindset to so that you can project outwardly those things that you believe with, internally and let go of the anger like that. The anger and the stress, it's not going to do your body any good.
And also, like when there are office politics, and there's so much trauma and drama in work environments, and sometimes it has nothing to do with you. And I say it to
Mhm.
you, and I say it to whoever's listening to you.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it really is them. Sometimes it's their mental health. I've had to work with a lot of people were professionals that had mental health issues. And then I had to read books on how to deal with toxic workers and how to deal with difficult people. And then I had to learn that I would blame myself for their interaction
Mm-hmm.
and how they felt. And I was like, oh, I need to step away from this. It's not me,
Mm-hmm.
it's them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of professionals have alcoholism, have drug substance abuse. And I have to step away from that and do the best job that I can and try to be as professional as I humanly possibly can. And thank God for those legal classes that I've taken because there were moments where, ooh, that were not so difficult and could easily escalate into a physical altercation. Some people
Mm-hmm.
really do provoke, and they're great at provoking. But sometimes, some people provoke without understanding the end result of a provocation.
Yeah. No, and you bring up a good point, Linda, about, sometimes it really is them. And that's why
Hmm.
emotional intelligence. That's why knowing who
Yeah.
you are and understanding yourself helps
Hmm.
you recognize that it truly is someone else. And so I'm not going to engage in this situation. I'm going to step out because there's something that you've got to regulate within yourself, for this to even be productive. That's important. I know as a leader in agencies, I have had to just smile and let people say whatever they want to say and smile and just go, okay, well, the next step is.
Absolutely. And you know what? It wasn't easy. I had to take classes. I had to take classes. I've taken CLE, continuing learning education classes on how to confront coworkers, how to deal with difficult people. I had to take those types of classes. It was not easy. It wasn't something that they teach you in college, and that's the whole point of your podcast, and the whole point of my podcast and my book, of learning those things that they don't teach you in college. And it's not easy because if you come from a background, if you come from a violent background, just because of your neighborhood, that if someone does something to you, they hit you, hit them back, and so on and so forth, and it escalates, and it can escalate pretty quickly. You have to unlearn that in order
Mhm.
to be a better professional and a better working professional. So there's so much to our work and to our jobs and to being a professional than just learning your subject, learning history, or learning business.
Good information for sure. Well, Linda, as like we start getting closer to the end of our conversation, I want to ask you the legacy and impact question I'm asking everybody that's coming on this season. And that is, if today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Oh, if today was my last day, I would want to be remembered for my resilience and for my ability to mentor other people and leaving a
Mm,
good memory behind. You
I
know,
love that.
the leaving a good memory behind should be number one. Money is great, but you can't take it with you. Once you pass on and you go on to the next lifetime, you can't take that money with you. And then at the end of the day, you'll start laughing because you'll be like, why did I work so hard to have so many material things, to have so many things and money, but you can't take it with you in your next lifetime. So,
Absolutely. Well, Linda, my last question to you is if you could leave a word of encouragement to someone listening out there who's still trying to figure out their purpose, what would it be?
oh, you have to keep reading. You can't just think I'm done with high school, I'm done with college, I majored in my major, and I'm done with education, I'm done reading. Continue to read, be a ferocious reader, learn from other people's experience, pick up biographies, and continue to learn. Life is the ultimate university, and the better prepared you are, the better your life is going to be.
I love that. Well, Linda, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. Conversations like this remind us that purpose isn't about perfection, it's about showing up and growing through the things that we go through and trusting that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So, wherever you are today, friend, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. So until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.